Good morning, friends. Thank you for spending another Monday with me. I was up and at it at 5:45 this morning. I went ahead and fixed the kids yogurt with some homemade granola for breakfast and then got started making their school lunches with some leftover French loaf. I did pick some of the center out so they didn't have a belly full of white bread. This is just from the grocery store. And this morning I just made peanut butter and honey. I did put a nice thick layer on both sides of the bread and just a little bit of honey. I definitely do not overcomplicate the lunch boxes of my two youngest. Usually there is something for their main entree, and then I try to do a veggie and a fruit and make sure that they have plenty of protein. So this morning I did applesauce, their peanut butter and honey sandwiches on leftover French bread, a cheese stick for my son. My daughter does not like the mozzarella cheese sticks, and I am out of her favorite. We did have some leftover Sun chips that you can see here. We don't normally have chips, so that was quite a treat. And then my son remembered that we still had some of the jalapeno chips, and that's what he wanted in his lunchbox. So chips were a treat. Sometimes, now that we do have raw milk again in our house, I will send a mason jar tightly screwed on with homemade raw chocolate milk. That's a treat as well. Now it's time to make Rusty and Mabel's bottles. We have separated the calves from Penny and Peaches for multiple reasons. Number one, it is just simpler for us to be able to monitor how much each of the calves are getting each day. Chances are one calf was going to end up with less milk than the other. But not only that, I realized last week when Penny was letting the calves nurse at the same time, Peaches was going up behind her and latching on to one of her back teats. Peaches is 8 months old. She is getting close to the same size as Penny, and she was still attempting to nurse, and she was successful last week because Penny wasn't paying attention. She didn't realize that Peaches had gone up behind her. So we cannot have that. But thankfully, since Penny had twins, the calves are together, Penny and Peaches are together, and everyone's happy. During the school week, my husband has taken over morning milking, which has been a huge blessing. So I still come up behind and strain the milk and put it in the freezer and then clean up the milking supplies. Now it's finally time for coffee. I am not sure how I made it a good hour into my morning before fixing my latte. We got this Nespresso machine 2 years ago on a really great Black Friday sale, and it has been the best home lattes that we've ever made. We actually get the double shot espresso pods, but we run them through twice, so it ends up being like really strong coffee, and then I just mix water and some heavy cream in the milk frother, and it's perfect. Today I am doing my big November grocery haul, so I need to take inventory of what I have in my freezers. I've got some frozen blueberries, actually 3 bags of frozen blueberries that I've been using for smoothies, and I will also make some blueberry muffins. The rest of this bin just contained a little bit of ground beef and mostly venison. On this second shelf, we have all that's in this tote right here is some frozen beef stew that I decided to go ahead and take out and defrost, and we will use it one day this week. In this container, we've got some frozen fruit, but first let me take it out. All right, there were only 2 bags of this frozen tropical fruit left inside the big bag, and let me tell you, I had a really hard time getting the second bag out with one hand, as you can see here. So I went ahead and pulled those out and threw the bigger bag in the trash, and I moved these 2 smaller bags to the freezer in the kitchen because my younger kids like to eat this tropical fruit blend just as a snack. All right, I'm going to pull these chicken drumsticks out and defrost those for a night this week. And the rest of what is left in this container is just more chicken breasts that have been portioned out in smaller bags. I do reuse those Ziploc bags, by the way. I've also got some triple berry blend that my kids like to use in smoothies. And then this bin is full of ground beef, and I believe that clear container is venison, ground venison. We've got some frozen grapes and some ahi tuna that I got on sale last month at Sam's Club. I'm going to pull those out later in the week for poke bowls. And then some green beans that are probably horribly freeze-dried. So I will probably just pull those out, defrost them, and throw them to the chickens, if they will even eat them. We are also trying to work through the last of our frozen jars of milk from when we dried Penny off 2 months ago. I also have some frozen pinto beans up here and a little bit of frozen buttermilk, but it feels really good to get some of those totes emptied and pull some stuff out of the freezer that we can use this week before I head to Sam's, Aldi, and Walmart later today. On to our smaller upright freezer. In this bag I've got it's a quart bag of barbecue chicken. It's already shredded and it has some barbecue sauce in it, but I'm going to defrost that, make some rolls, and let my girls use it for lunches at Co-op. They can just add more barbecue sauce. This is some frozen pie filling that I made last year when we went to the apple orchard. I'm going to pull that out and make apple crisp. I've also got some frozen marinara sauce with meat. And back here in the back corner, there's some diced celery and some sliced bell peppers. On the second shelf, we've got some frozen cubes of broccoli cheese soup, actually back from April of this year. If you are not familiar with Super Cubes, I highly recommend that you check them out. They probably sell them on Amazon, but they're fantastic for saving leftovers in just the right portion sizes. I'm going to pull this pepperoni out. It's our last pepperoni, and we can use it later this weekend for pizza. And these are fresh cranberries that were like 99 cents last holiday season, so I will use those to make this delicious cranberry relish that I discovered last year. On the third shelf, we still have some more frozen milk, some more frozen cubes of broccoli cheese soup, and some homemade pesto. 3 more half gallons of frozen milk that we need to work through, and on the very bottom, we've got some cubed sourdough bread that we will use to make French toast casserole. I had to turn my camera on as I was leaving the farm to go to my grocery marathon because it was so beautiful outside. The fog was really heavy and the cows were peaceful. The calves had the zoomies this morning and were running all over their little paddock. They are so cute when they get wound up and jump around like baby goats. Rusty still kind of wobbles like Bambi a little bit. They're so cute. It is still surreal sometimes that Penny had twins. I just can hardly believe it. And it feels so weird now when people ask, "Oh, you have cows, how many?" And I'm like, 4! We used to only have 2 a week and a half ago. Now we have 4 cows. But it's so fun, and the kids are really enjoying feeding them with the bottle twice a day. This was my biggest grocery haul, probably of all of 2023, and I look forward to sharing that with you tomorrow. First, I am going to put some pickle juice in this bag of chicken drumsticks. Did you know that Chick-fil-A uses pickle juice as a brine for their chicken? So this is the first time that I'm ever actually going to do it. We will probably grill this chicken in a day or 2. I got quite a bit of meat on sale, as I will tell you about tomorrow. So now it's time to do stuff with all of this food that I brought home. Right here, I am just wrapping these ribeye steaks that I got on sale. I'm seasoning them with Montreal and then wrapping them individually. These are really thick pork chops. I got 2 packages of these. They were also marked down a little bit. And if I cut them in half, as far as width, then I can get a full meal out of each tray. So I'll have 2 full meals of pork chops. I could not tell you the last time I made pork chops. I'll have to find a good recipe for these. I just seasoned them with some homemade seasoned salt before putting them in 2 different gallon bags to be used for meals later in the month. I always start by labeling my bags because I most definitely will not remember what's in there once everything is frozen. Every couple of months or so, I purchase multiple rotisserie chickens, and my teenage girls usually like to take the meat off the bones for me, but all three of them are sick this week, so I had to do this task myself. I cannot believe this time lapse only ended up being 20 seconds because I'm pretty sure I was over here for more than an hour picking all this meat off the bone. But now we have 4-gallon bags of delicious rotisserie chicken ready to be used, and 2 Instant Pots full of bones and skin for chicken broth. This defrosted and reheated broccoli cheese soup from April ended up being amazing. Now I have already run the bones through my Instant Pot at an hour and a half at high pressure, so it is time to can them up. Yes, I changed clothes multiple times this day. First of all, it was chilly in the morning and then got a whole lot warmer. I think the high today was 87. And in 2 days, our high is 54. That's the South for you. And then I made a big mess on my shirt with the rotisserie chicken. So I just strain the bones and ladle them into quart jars, and then I will pressure can these for 25 minutes at 10 pounds pressure. I just used our last jar of chicken stock the other day from the pantry, so I'm really thrilled to have these jars in there again. Lastly, I am finally going to use some of this pie filling that I've had in the freezer for the last year. So I only had 1 pie crust left in the refrigerator. I put that down in a pie pan and added the frozen pie filling, and it defrosted in the pan. And then I decided, since I didn't have a second crust to put on top, that I was going to make like an apple crisp topping to go on top before I stick the pie in the oven. If you've been here for a while, you know that I no longer purchase brown sugar. I just have molasses and a lot of it in the pantry, and I mix it with regular sugar when I need brown sugar. So I used a cup of brown sugar, 3/4 a cup of flour, 3/4 a cup of oats, and 2 generous pinches of salt. The recipe called for 1/2 cup, so a full stick of cold butter cut into cubes and then worked into your dry mixture, but I had a little over 1/2 stick from our homemade butter left in the fridge, and I just decided to use that and go with it. I have had this old wire pastry cutter probably my entire marriage, which is going on 22 years. I think I'm going to ask for a heavier duty one for Christmas. Yes, I am the kind of person who thinks of mostly practical things for Christmas that I don't want to spend my own money on during the year. So that makes it easy for people to find simple gifts for me at Christmas time. I mixed all of this cubed butter in and poured it on top. Look at that pie filling. It looks so good. So all I did last year was slice up my apples, and then I added sugar, flour, some cinnamon, nutmeg, and I just froze it in pie pans with parchment paper underneath, and then I wrapped it up in plastic wrap, and it was ready to go. So as soon as I pulled it out of the freezer, it just slipped nicely right back into that pie crust and was ready to bake. This turned out wonderfully, and I decided to surprise my teenagers and let them eat it with their breakfast. I am finally going to get a week ahead with my day in the life Monday with me, so next week it will actually be posted on Monday. Thanks for watching.